Welcome to the Dad Show podcast. Today we have Will, Mr. Will.
Mr. Will
on the show. Welcome to the Dad Show podcast. Today we have Will on the show.
Good job, baby. Thank you. Good job.
You're welcome.
Awesome. Hey guys, it's Ryan from the Dad Show. Before we get into today's episode, I'd like to take a minute to thank our sponsor. Have you been looking for a way to get on the water for some family fun? If so, please go visit my friends at Blue Springs Boat Company located in Kingston, Tennessee. Family owned and operated since 1988, Blue Springs Boat Company is the largest authorized Bennington and Regal dealership serving the East Tennessee area. They offer new and used boats, have a full parts department, and a certified service department on hand to help you with all your boating needs. They're proud to be your family's boat dealer. Let Blue Springs Boat Company help you find the right boat for you and your family. Visit them online at www.bluespringsboats.com or call 865-376-1472. Now, let's get to the podcast.
Welcome to the Dad Show Podcast, a show all about impacting, empowering, inspiring, and uplifting information to become a better dad, husband, man, and mentor. And now, your host, Ryan Ladd.
Welcome back to the Dad Show, everybody. I want to thank you for being here, for listening, and for watching. As Kennedy broke the ice there and told you who our guest is today, but before I formally introduce him to you, I'd like to ask that you would follow us on all social media at The Dad Show Podcast, as well as on our website at thedadshowpodcast.com, where you can find our merchandise and all the episodes and a little bit of information about the Dad Show Podcast as well, and the audience that we're trying to reach. So Kennedy broke the ice and already introduced our guest to you. I met Mr. Will whenever he called me, and him and his wife were getting married. I owned a DJ business on the side at the time, and Will contacted me, and so I was able and blessed to be able to DJ their wedding, and it was a beautiful wedding and beautiful ceremony, and man, it was fun, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a blast.
It was a good
day.
time.
Yeah.
So like I said, we got Mr. Will Cardwell on the show today, and I'm just going to ask him and to give a little context about his life and his family and whatever he would like to share. And Will, I want to thank you for being on the show today, man.
Well, man, I'm blessed to be here. I've listened to several of the episodes, about all of them pretty much, and
Awesome, thank you.
just really enjoyed it. I think this is just a wonderful opportunity, a great platform to be able to reach folks, and like I said, I'm just thrilled to be here and honored that you asked me to do it.
I'm glad you're here, man. I really am.
But like Ryan said, I am Will Cardwell. I was born and raised in Clinton.
Boo.
We're coming back, man. We're coming back. We're coming back. We'll be back before you know it.
Just like Tennessee from '98, right? Is that what?
Anyway.
Crickets, anybody? Crickets?
Anyway. I like I said, I was born in Clinton, born and raised there. Pretty much lived in Clinton all my life. When I was about, let's just say this, 2013, moved to Knoxville, and moved to Halls, actually. Don't really know, there's no real reason why. Just up from Clinton, decided to move to Halls.
Oh, yeah.
And
It is an upgrade, by the way. No, just
well, Halls had it, And me and my wife, we moved to Hardin Valley about going on 3 years ago, and we love it over there. And
that's a beautiful area there.
yeah, it is. It's nice. We enjoy it. It's nice and close to work. I couldn't get any closer to work. They wouldn't let me build a house like they're in the parking lot or nothing. So I tried to get as close as I could. But yeah, I am married to my beautiful wife, Emilee. I'll probably never get to be on Jeopardy or Wheel of Fortune. I could say my beautiful wife.
Yeah.
We joke and cut up all the time about people like, hear everybody say, I'm just trapped in just a horrible relationship with so-and-so,
They don't let the truth out,
They
do
don't,
they?
they just don't say whatever. It's like, So Emilee and I have been married for, we just celebrated our 5th wedding anniversary in August.
5 years ago. Man, it don't seem like that.
No, it doesn't. No. And we got a little boy, Grayson. He's 3. He'll be 3, December the 12th.
Wow.
You know, and that's flown by too. You can't really put it in the words.
Mm-mm.
You know, he's just, he's a trip. He's, you know, he's like a little mini version of me, which is kind of, you know, it's kind of twofolds.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty cool to have your own little mini me, but then again,
You realize what you were whenever you were.
oh, absolutely. Yeah, my wife will say, you know, I'm raising my husband as a child. You know, he copies everything I do. He mimics everything I do. You know, and it's all funny and it's cute. And then you just sit there and you think to yourself, watching what I'm doing, you know,
Yeah.
we're really gonna have to toe the line here. You know?
Yeah. Or what's coming in the future if he's already doing what you're doing now.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, it's but you know, just trying to like I said, trying to toe the line for him, you know. He keeps me in check, you know. So but anyway, yeah, so I got a 3-year-old, soon to be 3-year-old. I keep wanting to call him 3, and he's like, please don't rush my baby. Would you stop telling people
It's
3?
it's close enough. We'll give you that variance that he's 3.
Yeah. So yeah, don't rush my baby away, Will. So
So how does Emilee take that? How does she take, you know, do you catch a lot of crap for your son being like you? Does she give you a whole bunch on
oh
that?
yeah, absolutely. You know, and he's comical. He's a little bit quick-witted. You know, one of the things that we do, you know, for fun as a family, which is, you know, everybody's gonna be like, a bunch of rednecks. But, you know, we love going to the dirt races.
He did say he's from Clinton, by the way.
I moved, okay? But we go to the dirt track. We go to the dirt races. You know, we got some friends of ours, you know, they've been family friends for many years, and their son races a dirt late model. And, you know, I work on his car and, you know, help him out and stuff. And, you know, Grayson, you know, and Emilee enjoys it. She loves it, you know, which is great. But Grayson's got to where he goes with us too. We took him once and he done well. We was like, I don't know how this is going to go. You know?
Yeah.
He's like, I need my ear nection.
That's what I was wondering, if you put earmuffs on him or
Yeah,
not.
he calls it ear nection. And he wants to put it on right when you get in the truck. You tell him you're going to the races. He's like, where's my ear nection? It's like, you don't need it right now. You know, he wants it on.
No, I got to have it,
I
Dad.
gotta have it. You know, I'm wearing this to the racetrack. But
Then when he gets there, he takes it off.
he does pretty good keeping it on.
Really?
Yeah, he don't want his toboggan or nothing on, you know, or his hat. But he's got to have that ear nection, he calls it. So, but, you know, one thing, you know, that I'm always doing, I'm always taking tires off and on. So now the problem we have at home is all of the toys that's got tires and wheels are missing tires. There's just random tires laying all over the floor, you know. So it's like a
Mini tire shop later.
yeah, it's like a chess match. You're trying to figure out, well, what tire goes to what, and what did he take this off of, you know? And he's always got it setting up on jack stands, you know. So, you know, and Emilee's like, you know, where it's at, you know, where's this? And I'm sitting over there, and I'm just like,
That's my boy.
that's my boy.
That's right.
That's pretty slick. You know, that's cool.
That is.
But yeah, I mean, she has fun with it, you know. Like I said, he's just a cool little guy, you know. Of course, I'm, you know, a little bit biased.
Exactly. Well, you ought to be, you know.
Yeah. I mean, and, you know, he looks just like me. So, yeah, it's a lot of fun. Yeah, I just don't know how to put it in words. You can't put it in words.
No, you can't.
And, you know, it's flying by so fast. You know, we had talked about that a little bit, you know, earlier. And, you know, as you're growing up or you're, you know, progressing through life, you know, you're around folks that's got kids and has kids. And then once you have kids, you know, they tell you, you know, enjoy it. You know, it goes by fast. Mm-hmm. You know, I always just assumed that was just kind of a conversation piece. You know, it's just something, you know, to stir up conversation. There's not been anything more true.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, it's literally like that.
Yeah.
You know, something as simple as, you know, where's he going to go to school? You know, we live there in Hardin Valley. So is he going to go to Hardin Valley, or are we going to look at sending him, you know, to Grace or something like that? You know, and at one point in time, I was like, oh, we got plenty of time to talk about that. And now you're at the point to where, like,
next year he's going.
we're going to have to either be, one, saving up some money, or two, you know, we're going to have to figure out where he's going to go. You know? or a Mother's Day Out program. We thought that was, leaps and bounds down the road.
Yeah.
We were talking as recent as last night. She said, we really need to get him in a Mother's Day Out program of some kind. One, give her a break, because it's nonstop,
Like we stated earlier off camera, that's the hardest job. All these stay-at-home moms, and a lot of people are getting the feel now because of quarantine and COVID times and stuff like that. But these stay-at-home moms, they need a raise, or if you're a stay-at-home dad, you need a raise. I mean, it's the, like you said.
Oh,
yeah, thank you. You stated it clearly as it can be. It is the hardest job here on earth, is to stay home and take care of the kids.
Yeah, it is, and oh man, she does it so well.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, wow, just watching her do it is just
so graceful, isn't it?
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like,
It makes you kind of fall in love with her all over again, each time just watching her do it. It's just, but, when we were home during quarantine, when they, had work shut down for a little while, I spent, a couple of weeks at home. We were sitting there eating lunch one day. I went out and picked up lunch, and I didn't go in anywhere. But I went out and grabbed lunch, and we were sitting there eating lunch, and it'd been one of those mornings, where he was just, off the wall, apparently doing what he does every day. And I was sitting there looking at Emily, and I said, sweetie, I'm going to have to give you a raise. I said, this is no joke. And she said, yeah. She said, it's nonstop all day
been
long.
trying to tell you.
Yeah, hello. You talk about, I got to wake up early and get up and go to work in the morning. I wish I could get up early and go to work in the morning, she's thinking, and hear me moan about it, But, these stay-at-home moms, like you said, stay-at-home dads, man, they're superheroes.
Yes.
And these moms and dads, that's having to do it on their own, wow.
I don't know how they do it.
I have no clue how they do it.
And I seen a little bit of that when we were in Cincinnati at the hospital with Kennedy and Lincoln going through transplants. And, for the most part, I mean, there was single parents there, but most of the time it was just one parent there and the other parent was back working. And luckily, the good Lord blessed me that I'm on shift work where I could be there for multiple days and not just Saturday, Sunday, and then have to go back to work for the week. So Allie and I are there, and it was work for Allie and I to take care of a medically fragile kid in the hospital going through transplant like that. But to see these other parents, and some, let me state this too, there were some that had multiple kids, maybe not going through transplant, but were, they had the other siblings there because the other spouse was at work in another state or whatever. So not only are they taking care of the one child, but they had other children there in the room and hospital. And,
wow.
I mean, you can imagine one family in particular, he's another firefighter, as a matter of fact, and they're from Indiana. The daughter was going through transplant, and then the other two kids were under 5 years of age. I believe the daughter, when she went, was either 5 or 6 years of age. The other two kids were the younger siblings. So can you imagine being in a hospital, taking care of a medically fragile kid, and then two other ones that are under 5 years of age?
Yeah.
I mean,
no, I can't.
No.
I mean, it's,
yeah,
like I said, they deserve, awards. I don't know what, I don't know if there's a word you could give them.
no,
but yeah, watching her do that and, just seeing her be, there hands-on all the time. Like I said, it's just amazing to watch. But where I'm supposed to pick up, like when I come home from work, that leads me right into, some of my areas that exposes where I need to do better, and it's that transition of me coming in from the day, coming into her world where she's been there with him all day long. And he's a great kid. He's just a kid.
just a kid. Yeah.
It's not like he's, just doesn't listen. He's just a kid, and
Well, he's almost 3. He's probably not listening. And he's your son.
don't rush my baby. So, when I get home, and he usually meets me at the door. He used to meet me at the door and come grab a hold of me, and that's the greatest feeling in the world.
Yes.
If you've been at work and you've had a bad day, things not went right or this, that, or the other, and you come home, you walk in the door, and it runs up and they wrap their arms around you. We talk about, feelings as a dad, how do you feel as a dad and stuff like that. It's like, I can't put it into words, but just to have him greet you at the door. Well, now he's kind of got to the point where he flashes into the door, mumbles something, and runs off, And it's like I said earlier, and I don't really know what he's saying, because it's just real quick. But like I said, Emilee's fluent in Graysonese, so she knows what he's saying. She's like, he's trying to tell you to come in here and look at such and such. Well, the other day they'd put up Christmas decorations. So it's went from meeting me at the door with a big hug and, loving on me to just flashing into the, the doorway for a split second and then running off, and I'm supposed to go follow.
Like you said, though, it don't matter. Well, the flashing or the coming and hugging, like it doesn't matter what happened, no matter how mad you were, how much road rage was on the way home, or what happened at work, or whatever happened at the grocery store. That moment with your kids coming up and running and saying, "Daddy," just loving on, like you said, all that just goes out the door and it doesn't matter. I mean, your spirits are completely just lifted right back up.
Oh, absolutely.
And bring back to the happiest dad you can be at that point.
Yeah, and it just takes everything and squashes it right back into perspective, like that.
Mm-hmm.
But and then she's just, she's like, she's happy to see me too, because now it's, it's my turn.
Mm-hmm.
And and that's one of the areas, that me myself looking at myself and evaluating, that's one of the areas, I got to do better. When I get home, it is my time. It's time for me to, I've tried to talk to her time and time again about, hey, when I get home of an evening, why don't you go do such and such?
Which is a whole lot harder now during COVID and all that crap. I mean,
it is. And then, so what am I going to go do? It's late of an evening, I was like, well, go, make an appointment to go get your nails done or something like that.
Yeah.
And then you get, like the mom guilt, well, I'm supposed to be here. Well, no, that's not what it's supposed to be like.
Yeah.
Go do your thing. And that's where I've got to be more assertive when it comes to that, of saying, no, seriously, you need to go, go do something,
Well, it's good for her mind too, to clear and
it's like, like we said earlier, I've been at work all day long talking to adults, cutting up or, just having adult interaction. She's been at home all day long with Mickey Roadster Racer and, just, whatever the imaginary friend is for the week or whoever,
or not only that, if you're not at work having adult interaction, you're having your time, quiet time. You're at work, you're doing what you got to do, but you're just by yourself, not having a 3 or 4 or 5 year old run around the house and constantly tugging at you, needing you. To where she's on the other side of that, she hasn't had any quote unquote me time or anything of that nature. So yeah, I definitely see that she needs to, for her on mental health and wellness, needs to go have her time or go have adult interaction. I think that I would go crazy if, I was on the other end of that, of being at home. And I love my kids, don't get me wrong, but like we stated, yeah.
Well, she'd gotten to the point to where, she would go work, like one day a week, to get out of the house, but, COVID has kind of put some deals on that too, cause my mom would come over and watch him. And that gave my mom an opportunity to spend a little bit of time with Grayson. And then Emilee would go to work and get out of the house. But, with, COVID and what all was going on, that's threw everything in a whirlwind,
Yes.
And it's not like I'm just talking about just me. I mean, it's done it to everybody.
Everybody, yeah.
So she lost that outlet a little bit, but on the same token, I mean, it's not like she complains about it and just, she just takes everything in such stride. And I guess where I'm headed with this, going back, me looking in, watching her do her thing, man, it's just amazing.
Mm-hmm. I don't know how they do it. I really don't.
No.
But I think where you're going to a little bit earlier, and I may have cut you off and got you sidetracked, is that when you do come home, you do come in the door, it's dad's time to be present and,
Absolutely.
not yeah, you want me time because you're coming home from work and you're like, well, I've been dealing with work stuff all day and that nature. But you're feeding into this was that it's time to be present at home. It's time to be present with Grayson. It's time to be present with Emilee. You know, that's your time to shine, you know, at that point.
Exactly. And, you know, that's one of the areas that, you know, I've got to do better, you know, and I'm aware of that. You know, I have, you know, you all had a podcast here recently and you were talking about, you know, being present in the moment. You know, when you have that opportunity, seize the moment.
Yes.
You know, these things right here they're a great tool and asset, but they're awful.
Yes.
I mean, as far as interaction, and I'm one of the world's worst about it, you know, when it's time for me to come home, it's time for me to be at home. So if Grayson's wanting to get down on the floor and play, you know, yesterday was Play-Doh, you know, I need to get down on the floor and play Play-Doh.
Yeah.
You know, it don't matter if that thing vibrates. It doesn't matter if that thing rings.
Exactly.
It doesn't matter what's on the TV. You know, just the simple fact that we and her had a conversation the other day, having the TV turned off. You know, if we're eating supper, you know, we're pretty good about sitting down and eating supper at the table. But I'm also pretty bad about being in that seat that faces the TV, you know? And there's usually not even anything on at that particular time that's even interesting. But I'm still, you know, looking at it or looking up. You know?
Your attention's being pulled away to it. Yeah.
And, you know, it's being present in that moment of her telling me, you know, what all happened today or wanting to hear what all happened with me. You know, I'd talked earlier about some things that, you know, off camera that, you know, there would be some things that, you know, happen throughout my day that, you know, that I may use in a youth lesson, you know, and I'll bring it up, you know, well, you know, for instance, the other day, you know, this happened. And then, you know, Emilee would be like, well, why didn't you tell me about that? Well, I just didn't really, I just didn't think to, you know, but she wants to hear that stuff. She wants to hear my day. She, you know, no matter how small it seems to me, you know, she wants to talk to me about my day. I've got to get better about conveying that stuff out there. Taking that time to wind down when I get home, you know, have those conversations.
And it's not only, I mean, she wants to hear that adult things, but, you know, mainly what I think about when she's wanting to hear this, she cares so much about you. She wants to hear more about, you know, what's going on in your life or you know, what's went on in your day.
Right.
Rather than trying to hear more or trying to get involved with getting that release of adult stuff, you know. No, she cares about you more than she cares about getting away into that adult interaction stuff. Right.
And, you know, me listening to her, you know, let her share, you know, well, Grayson did this today or this happened today or, you know, hey, I talked to so-and-so today and they said such and such, you know, that stuff, it's stuff that she's getting out there. She wants to talk to me about, you know, and if I'm staring at a phone or if I'm staring at a TV or if I'm just zoning out, period, I mean, that's unacceptable.
Well, you're not present, you know.
Not present.
Yeah.
And you got to be present.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, you've said communication. That communication's got to be there. You know, just something as simple as, you know, for the longest time, especially, you know, as a bachelor, you know, you've always like, if you make an appointment, a hair appointment, call, make you a hair appointment, you know, tomorrow at 11 o'clock. Okay, great. To me, I just go the rest of the day and then, you know, say I did it on a Thursday. So I'm going to have a hair appointment on Friday and we're going to go get my hair cut. Yeah. Well, sometime around 9:30, I'm like, oh, hey, I'm going to go get my hair cut at 11. Yeah. Well, when were you going to tell me that? It's a very valid point.
Yes.
You know, that was probably something that I needed to put out there and be like, hey, tomorrow I've got a hair appointment at 11, you know, because there's a pretty good chance that maybe she's got something she wants to do or maybe she needs my help with something or whatever.
And it's easy to become complacent in that of when your wife is a stay-at-home mom, you're like, well, she's going to be home. I can, quote unquote, do whatever I want to at any point in time because she's going to be there no matter what. And then, like you said, you need to communicate those little things because at Friday at 11 o'clock, she may have had lunch with one of her girlfriends, or
Yeah. And then, and we've had those conversations where I've looked at her and said, look, I've got to get better at that. I've got to do better here. And she deserves that.
Yes.
But the bad part about it is, sometimes you'll say, okay, well, I've got to do better about it. And then you'll turn right around, and you're 20 minutes removed from the conversation and you're doing, you're doing something else.
Exact same thing. Yeah. But like you said earlier, and we stated this, I don't know if it was, I think it was before, but anyhow, you stated that, you have to realize that in order to work on it. If you as a husband or you as a dad or your wife, however that needs to be recognized with somebody telling you or you recognizing it yourself, the only way to fix it is to recognize it, admit it, and then agree to work on it. Yeah,
absolutely. It's like, you've heard it all your life. The first part to fixing something is recognizing there's a problem.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the times that's the biggest hurdle, is just identifying what the problem is. And then you're like, okay, well, how are we going to address it?
Yeah. And that, I want to tie into something too, because, I stated a little bit earlier, me and Will were talking off camera about my parents. And one of the main reasons it led to their divorce was that they didn't communicate. So that is one thing that I picked up that was a bad in my mom and dad's relationship, is that they didn't communicate. So I really try to put that factor into play into my marriage, is to overly communicate. So where I'm going with this is you talking about, realizing there's a problem. It's okay to talk this stuff over with your spouse. It is okay to be sure that you overly communicate, hey, I need you to do better in this, whether you're the husband or the wife or the child, whatever. Hey, daddy, I need you to be better at this aspect. Or, telling your wife, I struggle at this. I need you to be, hold me responsible that I'm going to do better in this. And just be sure, whether it is just a haircut or, something that you don't like, or even on the other aspect of that, the other side of it, something that you do like, that, somebody that your spouse is doing. Hey, I would like it if we could do more of this, or I don't like it when you do this. No, don't do it. Just be sure that you overly communicate those things, because like you said, it leaves questions in the air. It leaves, that gray area of a lot of stuff that if you don't communicate it, it's going to be misconstrued. I can just about guarantee you, and it's going to cause problems.
Yeah. And, on the other side of that, well, I mean, actually, it kind of runs right along with it. I mean, we've already discussed, she's been at home with him all day, being a mom, which is tough, all day long. And then I just go out and make an appointment, I got into a point to where I decided I was going to pick back up the guitar. I was going to take me a few lessons, right? So I called me a guy and talked to him, and I said, well, let me get back to you. Because right in the middle of talking to him, he said, well, how's like Fridays, around 10 o'clock sound? In my mind, I'm like, that sounds great.
Great, perfect.
And I paused, and I said, okay, well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to get back to you. Let me talk to my wife. I kind of went, that's a good job.
Check mark that one.
That's right. Yeah, let me talk to my wife. All right, good job, Will. So, but all jokes aside, I brought it up to her, and I said, hey, I'd really kind of like to get back into this. And I'll talk a little bit more about this probably a little bit later on, of looking at my priorities and the things that I've got going on in my life and reeling all that stuff back in. Mm-hmm. So I discussed it with her, and she was like, well, yeah, no problem with that. I mean, yeah, I think if that's something that you want to do. And then, the guilt sets in of, well, she's got something she wants to do.
Yeah.
I'm not taking guitar lessons. She was all for it. She's always supported me in anything that I've wanted to do. Mm-hmm. And she's always had a great attitude about stuff that I wanted to do. But here lately, I have been trying the best that I can to look at all the things that I have going on and thinking, Will, don't lose sight of what's most important. Don't lose sight of taking care of the most important thing. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Do you have all these other obligations and stuff that needs to be done? Yeah, you do. But you need to make sure you take care of the home court first. Mm-hmm. So that is what I am trying to do. That is my, people have New Year's resolutions or something. We're, rolling up on New Year's. Right now, everybody's resolutions is not have another 2020, right?
Yeah.
But
please no.
Yeah, please. So, but from this point forward here, I've been trying to be, he used the word, Fireman Dan used the word intentional.
Intentional, yes.
And he's spot on with that. I'm trying to be very intentional about the things that I'm doing moving forward of, okay, Will, your communication has got to get better. Your being present in the moment at home has got to get better. Taking care of the things that are on your home court have got to get better. Mm-hmm. And then the rest of this stuff will kind of fall into place where it may.
And you stated this earlier when me and you were just talking too, that if you don't take care of that, all that other stuff is going to, it's going to fall. It's going to crumble.
Yeah.
The only way for all those extracurricular stuff to be successful is to make sure that, like you said, you take care of home court first.
Right.
Make it strong, build a good foundation and a good relationship, and everything else will come out of that.
Absolutely. And it's like, we were talking about, the youth group. 3 years ago, Emilee and I took on our youth group there at our church. And studying for the things that we want to talk to them about and getting lessons and stuff together for them. Is that important? Absolutely. Absolutely, it's important.
Yes.
So learning how to juggle those things with your family life, with work, with school. I started school back. Why not just throw all that into the mix? If I've not got enough going on, let's go ahead and put that in.
Yeah, it ain't going to break the camel's back there.
I actually took a leave of absence from school this past semester. That was kind of part of that deal where I told you, I said, okay, look, does school have to happen right now? Do I have to, finish that right now? No, I'm not on any type of timeline for that. Is it something I want to do? Absolutely. Is it something that I absolutely have to do right now? No, it's not. But there is something that I have to do, which is take care of my family.
Yes.
And put the things that matter first.
Yeah.
And at that point, the things that were most important was family and the youth group, and, obviously Christ and church.
Yes.
I figured that went without saying.
Yeah.
But, so I'd put all of that stuff, as far as, school, I kind of put that on the back burner. Emilee and I had talked about me starting it back up again after the first of the year. Right now, that's the plan. We'll see what happens.
As long as we don't have another 2020 and 2021, all plans should kind of go according. But
it may be easier to go to school. We may all be just doing everything from home at that point. So, but it really has it's and the open lines of communication between me and Emilee. There's comfort in her being able to look at me and feeling comfortable enough to look at me and say, hey, you need to do a little better out here, as far as the communication or something goes, and for us, I feel like, okay, we've got some pretty good communication for her to be able to just throw that out there.
Oh yeah.
Like you said earlier, even communication about, hey, we need to improve here is better than silence.
Yes. Yeah.
So basically, I've got a lot of work to do.
We all do. I kind of want to switch back and run back just a little bit. This question may catch you a little off guard. You had stated that you and Emilee took over the youth group. And so I'm just kind of curious for myself, is how has that helped or hurt your all's marriage, your relationship, to find a project together as important as being leaders of the youth group is, to work on and know that you're working for Christ and everything? How has that been for you guys in your relationship?
Well, this might be a good time to go back even further. Go back to how me and my wife actually met.
Okay.
Okay. So, and you'll see where I'm going to tie this in a little bit later on as far as the youth group's concerned. But, you know, my wife and I actually met when she was about 7 days old,
Wow.
October of 1989. The church that we attend now, the church that, you know, we're doing the youth and stuff at, was a church that her and I both grew up in. Her mother was my Sunday school teacher.
Wow.
I followed her mother everywhere she went. You know, I was in, you know, if she sat here, I sat with her. And she was my Sunday school teacher. So to give context, how old were you at this time? She's 7 days
6.
old. You were 6. Okay.
6. I was 6 years old. And, you know, I thought, you know, the sun rose and set, you know, with her mother. And then Emilee's born. I didn't like that, not one bit. Right? This is not good.
Yeah.
So, Emilee's born, and the very next Sunday that after she was born, her mom brought her to church, and I go cruising out in the parking lot, you know, and I run out there and get in the van and climb up in there, and I look down in there, and they said, I don't like that baby. Take her back.
Kind of regretting that comment now, aren't you? A little bit?
Well, everything's got to come full circle. I like her a lot now. But, you know, yeah, she took the tension off me. You know, she sat there with her mom every Sunday, and, you know, now the tension's off me and it's on her. And, you know, I didn't like it. You know, I wasn't cool with that.
Yeah.
So, fast forward a little bit further, you know, probably something else a lot of folks don't know, but I got married young and got divorced. You know, wasn't, you know, just an awful marriage, divorce / thing. And it was one of those deals where, you know, we just got married extremely young. And of course I was out of the will of God, you know, not one point that I ever remember being like, you know, hey, is this the person you have picked out for me? Cause I didn't have a relationship with Christ at this point.
Yeah.
Anyway, got married in 2006, got divorced in 2009. When I got married to my first wife, Emilee was actually sitting out in the crowd.
Wow.
Because her family and my family were extremely close to church and this, that, and the other. And of course, her mom, you know, it made her come to the wedding. She's like, hey, we got to go to Will's wedding.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't care nothing about going to that wedding. But anyways, she was there. So, you know, everybody's like, that's awful odd. But it's still, I mean, it's funny. I mean, you know, looking back now, you know, it is what it is.
God does have a sense of humor.
He really does have a sense of humor. So, anyway, you know, you fast forward to now, you know, after I did rededicate, or I did get saved, you know, in 2012. So I started going back to church, this same church. And there was Emilee. You know, Emilee never quit going.
Yeah.
So, and then the rest really is history, you know. So Emilee was always involved with the youth group there at church, and I was in the youth group there at church. And now we've had the opportunity, came up for her and I to do the youth, to take over the youth.
Wow.
And it was one of those deals where, you know, we had talked about it for a while. And there were some folks that had come up to us and it was like, you know, it'd be really great, you know, if we had some type of youth program for the youth, you know, because everybody had kind of started getting up out of, you know, for a long time, all the kids at church were younger, and then they started getting up to where they were getting, you know, middle school, high school age, and we didn't really have anything going at that time for them. And there were some few people that had approached Emilee and I about it, you know, and I told her, I said, you know, it'd be pretty neat for us to take over the youth group, or, you know, the youth group that you and I grew up in.
Yeah.
And, you know, we talked about it for a while and we prayed about it for a while, and it just kind of come to the point. Of course, I had a lot of, you know, I had a lot of hesitation about it, you know, just because of my past.
Mm-hmm.
You know, for folks that, you know, heard my testimony and stuff, you know, being out of the will of God and far from a relationship with God, that was exactly where I was. And I was really struggling and having a hard time with, the devil telling me, you can't do this.
Yeah.
You've done too much. Folks know your past. They know how you've lived life. You can't do this.
But isn't it funny how the devil tries to use the past against you, but how God uses your past for you?
Oh, absolutely. I kind of got to the point to where the devil's telling me so hard not to do this because of my past. It's even more reason for me to do it.
Yes. Amen. Yeah.
So we decided to do it. And I can't tell you to answer. I say all that to get to this point. One, to tell mine and her story, just because I think it's cool.
Oh, yeah.
And to get to the point to where it has really strengthened our relationship and brought us together. For one, it's caused me to really get into the scripture. It's caused her to really get in there with me. The conversations that we have back and forth about that's opened up some communication. Now, there has been times when she's like, hey, what's your lesson on tomorrow? I'm like, oh, it's on such and such. She's, well, I wish you would have told me that, sooner. Or we may have a hectic week and it's the day of, and she's like, hey, what's your lesson on tonight? Oh, it's a blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
She's like, oh, I'd have had a really good game to have went along with that if you would have told me, So once again, Will's communication.
This keeps coming back up for some reason.
It's coming back up, Will's communication. Honey, I'm going to work on my communication. So, but it really has brought us closer together. It's really strengthened, our relationship with Christ all the way around. And as far as has there been any problem areas with it?
Communication.
Communication. There it is again. Let's go with communication. No, and people always tell you, if you serve in some in a capacity for long enough, there's going to come a point where some hurdles are really going to get rough. We've went through a few of those, but as far as anything, related to me and her, nothing that we hadn't been able to overcome.
Yeah.
Nothing that's, we've not been able to talk through it, discuss it. I think some of our greatest challenges and stuff as far as the youth is concerned is making sure that we balance that time with our family life, with Grayson. We have a youth group of, before COVID hit, we were about 21.
Wow. That's a pretty good youth group.
It was.
Yeah.
And they were really starting to gel with one another. They're really starting to become, to where they were, for the longest time when we first got it started, you'd be like, hey, has anybody got any prayer requests?
Silence.
Yeah. And now it's just I'm like, hey, we need to chill out. We got to do this. We got to do that. Now they're all talking over one another and everything. And so I say that to say, you got 20-something kids. We've also got one at home. Mm-hmm. So making sure you balance, all of that. That's probably the biggest hurdle is balancing your time, managing your time, making sure that you're giving that what it needs and what it deserves, but making sure you're not taking away anything from at home also. And learning that balance is, it takes some time. I'm not going to say that we've got it completely mastered yet because we don't.
Yeah. And there may be different variances there too. Those kids look up to you and Emilee and may open up to you and Emilee that they wouldn't open up to their friends or open up to their parents. And so, now not only are you planning these activities, planning these lessons plans for when you're supposed to meet, but, these kids may be messaging you or calling or, and needing that extra time too. And most of that's going to happen at home when you're supposed to be present and
Absolutely.
the time there. So I would say that it's very hard to manage.
It is. And, and that's what we tell them. We tell them, hey, if you're ever in a situation you need somebody to talk to, you reach out to us,
Yeah.
And then every now and then you go, how come they got you? Or how come they asked you and didn't ask me, Yeah. I don't know. And it's usually, the guys and stuff will reach out to me and the girls and stuff will reach out to her.
Yeah.
The other thing, in between us is, that confidentiality.
Oh, yeah.
You share everything with your wife, but sometimes
You can't.
you can't.
Yes.
And, building that understanding between one another. And, and that came pretty easy. That came pretty natural as far as, oh, yeah, I get it. If somebody, needs to talk to you about something, the whole deal, you definitely don't say, well, what was that about?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's a no, never mind. I mean, it's off limits.
Yeah.
But I figured that would be tough. I can't tell you, but that, like I said, it just kind of goes without saying.
Mm-hmm.
So that was really, her and I had never done anything like that before. Now, Emilee has always been great with kids, small kids. She's always been involved with the Sunday school, the small children, the children's church on Sundays. She's worked at daycares. I had never done anything even remotely, even close to this.
Yeah, I haven't.
Ever.
Me either.
So it was all foreign to me.
Mm-hmm.
I had no clue. Now, as far as like getting up and giving a lesson and talking about some stuff, okay, yeah, I'm with that.
Yeah.
But all the other stuff that went along with it, it was just like getting hit, with a brick wall. I was like, okay, I wasn't ready for that.
Huge learning curve. Yeah.
It was a huge learning curve. Patience. God's like, I'll teach you patience. I'm going to give you a youth group.
Yeah. Well, the reason that I asked that question is because I could imagine, especially like you stated, diving in to God's word and having God first in your marriage, and studying the word even more is going to build your marriage deeper in itself. But for me and my wife, whenever Kennedy was going through transplant or about to go through transplant, when we just found out about her disease, we would go lay her in bed at night in her crib, and then we would pray together over her. So that built us in our relationship even stronger. So where I was going with that question is, I know that, diving in together for, an end result with Kennedy and praying over her, I could imagine, you and your wife taking on the youth group and working towards that goal together is got to just build your relationship even more.
Yeah. And, it's funny you mentioned, the prayer. We got to a point now, and we do this every night. And, when you first do it, especially as you're growing up, you hear people pray out loud, and that you're like, how do they do that? Pray out loud in front of people.
Yeah.
And then you get to where you can do it. And then there was like a huge mental block and a hurdle for me, pray out loud in front of Emilee.
Yeah.
And it got to the point to where, we was talking one night, and I was, we need to have prayer together at night before we go to sleep. And it started when she got pregnant with Grayson. It was the first time I ever done it. And it was basically, we was praying for Grayson's, praying for his health, praying for a safe delivery. And one night I just started praying out loud while we were laying there in the bed. And I don't think that there's ever really been a more like close feeling. I mean, it was like a moment that we're just extremely, I can't even put it into words.
Yeah, it's almost like just like it says in God's word, two become one.
Yeah.
It's the closest moment that I can state that I felt the closest to my wife.
I agree.
As one.
I remember it plain as day. After we finished that prayer, it was just like, we got to do that all the time.
Yeah.
And then it's just kind of stuck. And it's also one of those things where, you can look at the youth and you can look at them and say, Emilee and I pray together. you know, and be able to say that truthfully and say, hey, yeah, we do.
Which opens up them to be like, it is okay for me and my friend to pray together.
Yeah,
you know, instead of me having to crawl in a closet or, you know, somewhere by myself and I can only do it by myself, it teaches them and shows them, no, it's okay to pray with other people. It doesn't have to be your spouse. It doesn't have to be your brother. You know, it can be anybody.
Yeah. It really did. It opened up avenues for her and I that may have never been opened up had it not been for that. So it has. It's strengthened our relationship in many ways.
So I'm even going to throw another little curveball at you too. So the moment that Grayson was born and you knew kind of where you'd been in your past and what had been happening, man, how did you feel at that moment seeing your son for the very first time?
You just have to give all thanks and all glory to God. I mean, from where I was in my life, you know, like I said, you know, living for the world, you know, living in the world, you know, without Christ, none of that happens. Yeah. And I mean, that's obvious, but I'm saying without my relationship with Christ and, you know, being saved and turning my life around, you know, Grayson doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And to hold him for the first time, and it really is. It was like a highlight reel. You know, some of it was bad, you know, and then some of it was good. But it was just like, you know, thank you. You know, for picking me up out of the muck and the mud, cleaning me off, and setting me back up on the right path, because this gift is not possible without that.
Yeah.
And it was just almost like, you know, there's a song. This is way off subject, but there's a song that's probably my favorite song, period, and it's by Mercy Me. And the song's called Dear Younger Me. That's the name of the song. And I still to this day can't make it through that whole song without, you know, I'll be down there in the truck, you know, driving down the road, you know, sun's in my eyes.
Yeah, allergies got to give me.
Yeah, but you know, I just sit and think back to, you know, my life before Christ and what my life is now with Christ, and there's only one word to describe it, and it's joy.
Yes.
You know, there's happiness and there's happy times and stuff, but joy is just something all in its to itself.
Mm-hmm. True joy too,
True
not just
joy.
say, "Oh, I'm happy,
Just
I'm joyful."
True lasting joy of just, you know, a fullness, you know, from a void that was, you know, that I was trying to fill with all this other stuff prior.
Yes.
To now, just like, you know, they say my cup runneth over. I mean, it's like at that moment when I got him, I mean, yeah, I had a cup that was just spilling out on the floor.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just, you just thank God.
Yeah.
You know, that's all I could do. It's just to thank God for, you know, for this precious gift.
And that's where I was too, like, you know, holding Kennedy for the first time and seeing her, it was like, man, I was this way all my life. I was, you know, I've done this in my life. I'm undeserving, you know, like you said, like I don't deserve it. I don't, you know, it's just thank you, God, is basically, because like you said, it was a highlight reel. You're holding this precious baby in your hands and you're like, is this real? Like, am I really holding my child after everything that I've done and been through? God still bless me in this way. Yeah.
I mean, it just goes, you know, you know, a merciful, I mean, you know, we're saved by grace.
Yes.
You know, it's like there's another part in that song, and I said this the other day when I was doing a message that, you know, where it says you were never meant to carry this beyond the cross. You know, all that hurt, all that pain, all that, you know, depression, the sin, you know, every bit of that, his intentions was not for us to carry any bit of that stuff past the cross,
Mm-hmm.
you know, because he took and bore every bit of that for us.
Yes.
Now we still try to grab some of it and run with it. You know, that's not
Human nature.
that's human nature.
Yeah.
That wasn't his intention. His intention was
Carries it for us. Takes care of it.
for us. And we just naturally try to go back and grab it. But, you know, for that particular moment, holding him, you know, every bit of that did stop. You know, that joy. It's just like, you know, it's easy to throw your hands up and say, you know what, there ain't nothing else to explain it but God. You know? You know, it's a God thing.
It's that easy, but, you know, it's also that hard to admit that too.
Yeah, you can't, you know, there's no words to describe it.
Yeah. So we've touched on Grayson and the joy of being a father and him being born, but I kind of want to switch gears just a little bit and talk about Emilee. We've talked about your flaws,
Yeah,
with your relationship and your marriage and what you need to work on, but I kind of want to hit on a couple of things that you do well, and how that you make Emilee feel secure in your all's relationship, and maybe some ways that you go out of your way to make her feel secure and loved.
obviously that's any husband's favorite thing to do.
Yes.
You know, is to show your wife and how special she is to you, to make her feel loved. One of the things that I've really tried to do hard here lately is, you know, say those instances where she isn't at home, she is going to do something. Everybody talks about the love languages, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, hers is, you know, acts of service, you know. So, you know, straightening up the house, you know, Emilee is just a phenomenal person in general. She's just got a heart of gold. She's just so genuine, just so, you know, she's not a materialistic type person. You know, just helping her around the house, straighten up around the house, you know, without, you know, being told
Mm-hmm.
or
Yeah.
asked, you know, or without getting that hint. You know, the main thing is, as far as your wife, you know, it's your main objective and should be your main objective and goal is she's the only person. She's the only person for you, period.
Mm-hmm.
You know, she's the most important person in your life, you know. And as far as Emilee, you know, she kind of make jokes every now and then. You know, you said something earlier about it, but she's like, you know, I ain't got you know, I don't worry about Will stepping out or doing anything, you know, out of line, you know, as far as that goes. You know, he's dedicated. You know, I was a Dale Earnhardt Jr. and a Tennessee football fan, you know, my whole life. It was some rough years, and I remained dedicated.
Yeah.
You know? She says, I don't worry about him. You know? But Tennessee balls, they're coming back too.
We'll keep praying about that.
Yeah, no kidding. Emilee's, you know, main thing is, like I said, just being present. For me to just be present in the moments, present in the conversation, present when I'm at home. Now, you know, will I plan, you know, every now and then, you know, I'll get the mother-in-law, you know, she'll watch Grayson,
Mm-hmm.
and, you know, we may go to dinner. But that's not really what makes Emilee tick. You know, what makes, you know, I've got a nickname. And, you know, I answer the phone at work and I'll be like, hey, pretty girl. That's her name, pretty girl.
Yeah.
That's what I call her. You know, just those comments, just making her feel like she's absolutely the only person in the world. And I don't say it to be cocky, but that's easy for me to do
Mm-hmm.
because it's pretty much how I view her, you know. You know, to watch somebody be a mom like she is to Grayson, you know, it's easy for me to look at her like that.
Yeah.
You know, because it is amazing. She truly is amazing. And just to keep, you know, I think verbally, you know, we talk about communication, you know, verbally just letting her know how special she is, you know, she's a very beautiful woman. She's gorgeous. You know, tell her that.
Yes.
They need to hear that.
Yeah. Don't take it for granted.
Yeah, I mean, you know, they need to hear that. They should hear that.
Yes.
And in today's world, you know, we had talked about, you know, like this being a, you know, overly sexualized world, and, you know, just everything that's out there, you know, there's, you know, every time you flip on a TV or you flip on social media or anything like that, you know, the way that they portray, you know, here's what you're supposed to look like, you know, here's what you're supposed to be.
Yeah.
You know? Well, that ain't so, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, there's just so much to go on out there to pull women down.
Yes. Too much negativity out there.
There is too much negativity out there. And the one person they need to hear some, you know, positive from is us.
Exactly. Whose words actually matter. I mean, they can hear it on the TV, and it's going to matter if, you know, they're already, you know, thinking about that on themselves, or, you know, negativity in their head. But to hear positivity from you, and not only that, one of the things too that I try to do is, no matter what my wife looks like, whether she just got out of bed or she just got, you know, spent 2 hours getting ready because we're going out to dinner, tell her she's gorgeous. Tell her she's beautiful. You know, when you tell her she's beautiful, she's gorgeous at all times, not only does that help her self-confidence, but when you're out and you see another pretty woman or you see something, you've put it in your head too. No, my wife's gorgeous. My wife's beautiful. Yes, I recognize that's a pretty woman, but my wife is gorgeous, right. Drop dead gorgeous.
Absolutely.
It makes not only her believe it more, but it helps you to keep that into your head and keep that comment going that, no, that's a pretty girl. I recognize she's a pretty girl, but that's my wife. She's gorgeous.
Yeah. You develop a point to where when you do build that confidence and you establish, you know, and they've got it in their heads like, you know, hey, he's only got eyes for me. Mm-hmm. You know, if there is a comment made, you know, it may come like, well, that girl's pretty. I can confidently feel comfortable going, yeah, she is pretty.
Yeah.
And not worry about, you know,
I can't believe he was looking at her.
Or, you know, worrying about that. Oh, okay. So you agree with me?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I agree. You know,
I agree 100%. I see what you're saying.
When you build that dialogue between each other and that confidence is there, you can have a mature conversation.
Yes.
And, you know, call a spade or whatever, and that be the end of it.
Yes.
And not leave her walking away thinking, well, did he think more into that than he probably should have?
Yes.
And there's a lot of that going on out there, you know. You know, once again, these things are awful. Social media and stuff like that just opens up so many avenues just to tear confidence down.
Yeah, it gives that like we was talking, the devil just that little toe in the door.
Gives him a foothold.
Yeah, just
and you know, I tell our youth and stuff. You know, we'll be talking. You know, and I'll just tell them, you know, the sexual temptation and the over-sexualized things that's out there in our world is going to be some of the greatest hurdles and the greatest temptations that you're going to face growing up.
Yes.
As you get older. And I wished I could look at you right now and tell you that it's going to get easier. Mm-hmm. It's not. However, there is help. And that goes back to your faith. That goes back to your relationship with Christ.
Yes.
You know, when you know, it's just like anything else. If you was to fall into a void or you fall into a rut or something, like, hey, you have a very real conversation with him too. And, you know, he already knows
mm-hmm.
that you're dealing with it.
Yeah.
So, hey, look, I'm struggling here. You know, I need some help. You know, be real with him.
And he'll help you.
You're not going to fool him.
Yeah.
You know, you may fool your buddies or the person sitting across the table from you or something, but you're not going to fool him.
Yeah. You know?
So, that is a very big hurdle that's out there. That is a very big trap that's out there. Mm-hmm. And it's something we have to be vigilant about because, yeah, the devil's absolutely going to use that.
Yes.
Absolutely going to use that. But, yeah, my wife's hot.
She's a pretty girl, we'll say.
Yeah, that's what you better
yeah. But I also want to say, man, that, you know, when we talk about making your wife feel special, either inside or out of the home, either way, you have to make her feel special even more with kids in the home too, because you can get caught up in we're spending our time with the kids and not working on our relationship. Those kids are going to grow up, and more than likely they're going to move out of the house, and then where are you going to be left?
Right.
Like, oh my gosh, what do we do? So you have to, and we're just juggling here, continuously juggling work and church and wife and kids and everything. You have to nurture each one of those different plants, or they're going to die.
Yeah. That also kind of goes right back to what we were talking about earlier with Grayson, how fast it goes. I was stating, where are we going to send him to school? Well, we got time to do that, to think about that. No, you don't. So you can't look at that same aspect of, okay, well, I don't really have to put that much into the relationship right now as far as building that strength and this, that, and the other for when the kids are gone. Well, we've already established that that's happening quicker than what we realize.
Yeah.
So you very much have to be working on that now and from the get-go and right out of the gate, making sure that you don't lose that spark, that, the intimacy and everything that goes right along with that. And it starts right back with making them feel special.
Yes.
And that's and I almost feel like the greatest, compliment, I felt like that's what I've said a couple of times. And with Grayson in the house, it does make it more challenging than the way it used to be when it was just me and her.
Yeah.
So to make sure that we strengthen our relationship and establish that relationship as far as many years down the road, I think Jamie said it best when you had Jamie on. He made a comment that, putting a roof, you can't put a roof over something that's not framed up.
Exactly.
As far as having a foundation.
Yes.
That foundation starts now.
Yeah.
That foundation, started then. And you just have to keep building on it. You have to keep building on it.
And not saying that you can't do it whenever your child turns 18, but you won't be on a hard, curvy mountain road if you start now.
Right. Yeah, you won't feel like, saving for retirement.
Yeah.
If you're going to retire at 62 and you start saving at 52, you're probably going to be in trouble.
Yeah.
Probably going to be in trouble if you start saving at 30.
Most certainly.
Starting now and, like you said, having a very real conversation with them, with that now,
Yeah.
Open up that dialogue, have that talk about, hey, the kid's going to be gone one day, Yeah. It's okay to have that conversation.
Yeah.
Hey, what are we going to do to, keep things rolling in the right direction? What are we going to do to strengthen? What are we going to do to build? What are we going to do to do something different, shake things up a bit, I think those are very acceptable conversations to have.
I agree. I agree 100%.
Man, I just don't. To make her feel special, ought to be something that I am striving to do every single day of the week. And probably something that I feel like I do pretty well, but I could do better. Mm-hmm. Just like every other aspect of my life, I could do better. But man, she's just, this may sound cliche, but man, she's just easy to love.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? She's just awesome.
Well, and when you say that, it is cliche or, whatever you want to call it. But when you've worked on these other hurdles through your marriage and you've built this strong relationship by putting Jesus Christ first in your marriage, makes everything else so much easier.
It really does. People don't, say for instance, if a youth or somebody comes to me with an issue or with a problem, the first thing I do is say, have you prayed about it? And I can't stand giving that answer because it feels like it's a cop-out.
Yeah.
But it's not.
No.
And I say that to say this, you don't want to say, well, it just goes back to Christ. It does. That's what it all goes back to.
It's that easy.
Yeah.
But it's that hard.
Absolutely. Yeah. Strengthen your relationship with Christ. Strengthen your prayer life. Don't let the devil come in here and tell you you can't do this or you don't need to do that or this is not that important. Yeah, absolutely he's going to tell you that.
Yeah.
He's going to fight for anything that he can. I used one time, well, matter of fact, it was when I give my testimony on Youth Day, I used something that I had seen is how important is a soul if both the devil and Christ both want it.
Exactly.
So, the devil's going to continue fighting. Mainly, from the standpoint of, one, he don't want you to share your story with anybody. Number two, he don't want you to reach anybody. Mm-hmm. Number three, he doesn't want you to strengthen that relationship because he knows these other things that we were going to talk about are going to go well if you do.
Exactly.
He don't want your marriage to be happy.
Yeah.
He doesn't want your home life to be happy. He wants turmoil.
He wants everything that's happening in the world right now, negativity, over-sexualization, drugs and alcohol, and turmoil.
He wants it inside your four walls.
Because how much easier is it for him to step in if everything's already crap?
I do say that. It does go back to Christ.
Yeah.
December 14th, 2012 is when I gave my life over to Christ and got saved. And I can honestly say that's when things started changing. Did they change overnight? No, they didn't change overnight. Did they change over the course of a couple of weeks or a month? No, they didn't. But gradually,
yes,
Christ started, removing this out and placing this in. I talk about people, you and I earlier were talking about Scott Wilson, a mutual friend of both of ours. Mm-hmm. That's somebody that Christ placed in my life out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And he's just been absolutely just a huge, he's been like a mentor.
Yeah.
Christ just starts placing those like-minded people and those good people in your life. And once all that stuff starts happening, things start falling into place. Things start disappearing out of your life. Other stuff starts appearing.
And it's not always easy. Even though you choose to walk with Christ and you choose to serve him fully, that doesn't mean that everything's going to be, sunshine and rainbows all the time. It's those rainbows show up because of the storms that you have to go through. But going through those storms, you build that strength and you build that courage to keep driving and knock all that bad stuff away.
Absolutely. It's like over in Matthew, he tells us, you're going to go through trials. You're going to go through tribulation. You're going to suffer. But he also tells us, to take heart that he's overcome the world.
Yes.
I've told the kids before, they're all about video games. I said, you've got these things now to where if you're playing a video game and you get to a certain point in the video game and you get stuck, well, you just go on YouTube or buy one of these subscriptions that you can get on and somebody will show you, how to beat this level.
Yeah.
Well, as Christians, we have a subscription to something or to somebody who has already played this game once.
Yes.
And won.
You don't have to pay for it.
You don't have to pay for it. It's already been paid for.
Yes. Amen.
It's like a subscription that it's open and it's there for you. All you got to do is accept it.
Yes.
And, just like he said, he's already overcome this world. And the things that we look at, you said a constant conversation is, man, it's getting bad out there. It's getting bad out there. Well, yeah, it is. And he told us it was going to. Mm-hmm. But he also says, take heart, I've overcome the world.
Yeah.
And you're mine. Therefore, someday you will too. And
that helps you look so positive and be more positive than what the world wants you to do is be negative because, he tells us it's going to be bad. The world's going to get worse. But look what he's already, came through and conquered for us. That, we can look and see that it's negative on the outside, but not really worried because how good is my God?
Yeah, absolutely. And that, that goes back to that faith that we had talked about earlier. he's got plans for good. He's got plans for joy and peace in our life. But there's going to be some turmoil. That's where that faith comes in there.
Yeah.
That's where that faith comes in as to, okay, he said this is going to be rough, and he said I was going to have some hurdles. So I got to trust what he says, and I know it to be true. But you still got to have that faith.
Yes.
Of, okay, God's going to get me through this.
And he will get you through it. And you just got to stay strong. And I was listening to a podcast earlier, and I know I'm going to misconstrue this and tell it terribly, but the guy, portrayed it so well that when you have negative thoughts in your mind, that's not you telling yourself that, who wants to put negative thoughts in their own heads? That's not God putting those negative thoughts in there. That's the devil trying to get something to get you away from getting closer to God. That's those negative thoughts. Say, no, you can't do this. You can't do it. Because let's just say, for instance, you want to run a 100-yard dash in, I don't know, whatever world record time is. The devil's going to say, you're fat, you're slow, you're flat-footed. There's no way that you're going to be able to get to that number. But once you get there, who are you going to give the glory to? Are you going to take it yourself, or are you going to give the glory to God? And more than likely, you're going to give the glory to God if you're walking with God. And what's that going to do to the devil? That's just going to push him further and further away. So he's going to put you in those negative thoughts in your head to say, no, you cannot do that. There's no way you can do that. And you just got to be able to push those away. And the closer that you walk with God, the easier that it's going to be to push those thoughts away.
Absolutely. And, the devil, we talk about, I was just telling you earlier, about, the darts that the devil throws at us, and, his greatest tool, lies and deception. And for me, probably my biggest hurdle is doing things like this right here. They're not a hurdle because, as far as, mentality-wise for me, think they're hard to do or this, that, or the other. But the devil tells me all the time when I get up to talk to our youth, or when I get up in front of the church to, share a message that, God's laid on my heart, or when I come here to sit with you here tonight and tell a little bit about my story and a little bit about where I come from, in the back of my mind, the devil's sitting there, Will, nobody's going to take you serious. There's people that knew you in your past. Mm-hmm. Like, this guy's talking to a group of youth. Are you kidding me? And that's what the devil tells me, and he does it constantly. And like I said, that's even more reason for me to just go ahead and do it. Mm-hmm. Because I think it's very important for people to hear. We've all come from somewhere. And Christ can take anyone at any particular time and pick them up and clean them off and set them back on a path.
Yes.
He may not set you on a path to go be a youth leader, or, to go be a pastor, or to go, he may not set you on that type of path, but he can set you on a path back to a life of joy.
Yes.
Back to a life of peace and happiness, to where you don't have that void that you were searching for, the night before or something. I think back to the times, when I was out living in the world and I was out doing this, and, there was a trip to jail at one point in time, being out somewhere I shouldn't have been, and, a fight or this, that, or the other, poor decisions, living for the world and living for the moment to fill a void in my life. Mm-hmm. But God can take anyone and pull them out of that. And people have to know that. They have to hear that. Is it hard to tell stories about yourself as far as, they're not so great and they're not so flattering? Yeah, absolutely it is. But you have to tell those stories to let people know what kind of God we serve.
And how good he is.
And how good he is. And, he can do anything for anyone. And, the devil tells me all the time, well, nobody can take you serious because of this or because of that, and you just have to push through and just say, you know what? All right, say 300 people don't take me serious, but one does.
It's more than worth it.
Well, then there you go.
Yes.
So,
But those 300 people are letting the devil put the thoughts in their head of not wanting to listen to you because they know what happened in your past,
yeah.
rather than seeing how great our God is of bringing you out of that past to where you are today.
Yes, absolutely. And, you know, I will say this. There's been far less people say something negative than there has been positive feedback.
Yes.
Matter of fact, to my knowledge, nobody's ever like said anything to me directly like, dude, was you really talking to a church? You know, nobody's ever actually said. Now, did they say it to themselves or whatever? They may have.
Yeah.
But directly, no. Now, how many people has said, man, I appreciate you sharing that. I really needed to hear that. Or I didn't know all of that. That's, you know, so there's been plenty of that.
Yeah.
So,
And there may be people out there saying, well, he says this now. We'll see what happens in a month, 2 months,
Probably.
a year, you know, and they're just waiting around. And you're going to have that, but got to continue to walk.
you do. And, you know, that's a hard walk, you know, because the other thing about it is once you do start doing this stuff, then everybody's watching,
Yes.
you know, and the thing people need to understand is, yeah, you're probably going to see me mess up.
Because I'm not perfect.
No, I'm not. I mean, that's the whole purpose of all of this.
Yeah.
The whole purpose of all of this is because we're not perfect.
Yeah.
You know, so am I going to slip up and say something I'm probably not supposed to or whatever? Well, yeah, probably. You know, I'll probably do something that I'm not supposed to do between the time I get from Harriman to Hardin Valley.
Yeah.
You know? And people need to know that. They need to hear that. You know, my pastor, something that, you know, he's done often during his messages, and I've told him, you know, that's, you know, people need to hear that is, you know, sharing, you know, I struggle with this, or, you know, whether it be whatever. He's like, you know, people need to hear that. People need to hear that we're all in this together. We're all in the same boat. You know, if you get angry and lose your temper, you have, you know, a moment to where you're upset about something. Well, okay, yeah, that's going to happen. You know,
And like you said, to share that, because there may be somebody else out there that may lose their temper. You know, we all have bad traits and we all do bad things. How we overcome those bad things, that's what I'm saying. Everybody needs help on how to deal with that.
right.
God doesn't take perfect people and make them more perfect. God takes broken people and makes them perfect.
Yeah, he, you know, like it's okay. For instance, anger. Okay, you know, it used to be nothing. You know, I'd be playing golf, you know, and hit a bad shot and just blow a gasket. You know, throw a club off in the middle of the woods. You know, and just lose it.
Yeah.
Now, I just, dude, you're not really that good of a golfer.
Yeah.
Okay,
Just laugh at yourself. Yeah.
you know, you were never really that good anyway. You know, I used to get mad like, you know, I'm a real good golfer. I shouldn't be hitting shots. Yeah, you were. You were not that good.
I'm going to play Tiger Woods tomorrow, matter of fact.
Yeah. You know, so now just call it for what it is. Okay, dude, you're really not that good of a golfer anyway. So just pick your club up, go to the next hole. You know,
Have fun.
and so there is lots of that was, you know, that's one of the things that I said, did that happen overnight? Did my temper go away overnight? No. Is God still working on it? Yes. 30 years from now, will he be working on it? Yes. You know, we're all works in progress. And, you know, people need to understand and people need to know, and we need to share that as Christians. We need to share with people that it's not easy, and you're going to mess up, and you're going to make mistakes, and we do too.
And that's, you know, taking the Christ aspect out of it, taking the Christian aspect of it out of it. That's the whole reason for this podcast, is for all of us men to have conversations about what we think we're perfect in, what our flaws are, what we do bad, what we do good, so that all of us can learn. None of us are perfect. So that way, by creating this conversation, we can become all better together in all those aspects. We're never going to be perfect in all those aspects. And even if we feel like we're perfect, I promise you in our wives' eyes, we're not going to be perfect.
We're not going to be perfect. My listening skills are horrible. Said it again.
But still on top of that, though, by like you just said, and going back to where I was going with that point was, as Christians, we need to state that because there's other people out there struggling to try to walk with God that are struggling with the same thing you are, and you can help each other come out of that.
Yeah.
Same thing with being a dad, being a husband, being a man, being a mentor. We're going to struggle with things. And by creating this dialogue and talking about it, we can help each other come out of it.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, yeah, this is, I wished, it's like, when Grayson was born, you were talking about when Grayson was born, you had that moment of holding him, this, that, and the other. And then you go to the moment where you're there in the hospital for a couple of days, and then you get discharged. Well, you get discharge papers, and it says, it talks about feeding and this, that, and the other. Then it stops. It don't go no further. It was like, well, what? This just tells me what to do about feeding. What about everything after that?
Yeah.
Well, you're on your own.
You're a man. Don't act like you read directions anyway. So.
Yeah, you're on your own. It's not like buying a TV where you get an owner's manual.
Yeah.
It tells you everything. And it's the same way with marriage. I mean, you get married and it just starts. You're just getting started.
Yes.
And trial and error, just like anything. Now, granted, obviously you don't make no big, huge, stupid decisions and do something stupid, as far as, stepping out and things like that. But I mean, yeah, those small things as men and as husbands, we learn by failure. But like we said, we recognize it and realize, hey, I didn't do so well right there.
Yeah.
And there's really absolutely nothing wrong with, for one, like this dialogue that's been created here with the podcast, of finding you a buddy or a friend or somebody and be like, dude, this happened to me the other day. Find you somebody like that that'll be like, oh yeah, I've been through that.
Yeah.
Or yeah, I've done that once, at one point too. Well, how'd you deal with it?
Yeah. How'd you come out of it?
How'd you come out of it?
Yeah.
As men, we're extremely, I've gotten a whole lot better at it here lately. Like I almost got to the point now to where I have I don't mind to tell you, hey, look, I'm screwing up here. Because I've had those conversations and I know what kind of feedback I can get from the right folks, and it's extremely beneficial.
So even on the other side of that, if somebody comes to you and you've been through something and they're looking for that information on how to get out of it, even if you've done the wrong thing, you may want to communicate that too. Say, well, I can't help you on how to get out of it in the good way, but I can tell you what not to do,
Yeah, no. That's probably most of the advice that I would probably be able to give. Here's what not to do. But I think the most important thing to take away from it is it's okay to have discussions.
Yes.
It's okay to say, I need help.
Yeah.
Can I get some advice here? Or maybe, hey, here's what I did the other day, worked out great,
Yeah.
Or I did something for my wife the other day, man, and she absolutely loved it. You
Yeah.
know? Maybe it gives somebody an idea of something to do. But having that dialogue and talking to one another and having that close group of folks to reach out to is extremely important.
And it's hard for us as males to
Absolutely.
open up and, appear quote unquote soft, to create that dialogue.
Yeah. But I think we're going to have to.
Yeah.
I mean,
If you want to get better.
yeah, it's just like anybody else, it's like, we were talking about golf earlier. It's nothing for us. We'll walk up to somebody and say, hey, I'm slicing the ball. Can you help me?
Yeah.
What on the grand scheme of things, what does that matter? On the grand scheme of things in life?
Nothing. Yeah.
But if you've got something you're dealing with within your marriage that's crippling your marriage or hurting your marriage or something, but we won't reach out for advice for that.
Yeah.
To put things into perspective.
I agree. Yeah.
So, yeah, I think you really do have to have that dialogue, and you have, I stress this again. It don't have to be a whole, group of folks, but find you, 2 or 3 folks or 2 or 3 guys that you can reach out to, that you do not mind reaching out and saying, hey, I need some help here or some advice, or what would you do here, or have you ran into this?
Yeah.
There's more out there willing to talk about that than you realize. It's just a matter of putting those feelers out and identifying who those people are.
Yeah, put yourself out there to find out how you can.
Yeah, because, they're out there. I know they're out there. None of us do,
I agree 100%. Well, I could sit here for hours with you, man. It's been really awesome talking to you and creating this dialogue, and it's helped me just listening to you. And obviously, I need to be a better communicator with my wife as well. And man, I want to thank you for being here and greatly appreciate you coming out and spending the time to join us today.
Well, like I said, I appreciate you having me, and I appreciate you doing this podcast. Give a platform for some place that we can talk about this stuff. We talked about finding some some like-minded folks and some people to talk and share stuff, and this is one avenue to do it. I encourage anybody to get the opportunity. I've had a good time. It's good catching up with you.
Yes, for sure.
It's actually been a while since we have gotten caught up with one another. There's just so much going on. And you're right. We can sit here and talk forever. And I could ramble forever.
I could too. My wife gets on me like, man, you don't want to be the person that somebody sits on close to on a plane is what my wife tells me.
I'm liable. Emilee hears this. She's like, well, that's an awful lot of conversation you and Ryan had.
Oh man. Well, if anybody wants to dive in deeper with you, is there anywhere that they can find you on social media or?
Well, really just my Facebook,
Okay.
Will Cardwell. And, like I said, we we do have the youth group there at, it's called Impact Youth Ministry. It's there at Greenway Baptist Church in Clinton.
Okay.
If you're out there looking for a home church, you don't have a home church and looking somewhere, come visit us. You can reach out to me on Facebook and get details. But really that's pretty much the social media I live in is Facebook. I don't really venture much outside of that.
I completely understand, man.
Like I said, trying to put it down some. But yeah, if you want to reach out to me, that's the best way.
Awesome.
Just shoot me a message on there. And like I said, I really enjoyed it, and I appreciate you having me on.
I appreciate you being here, man. And also, I do want to state something real quick that I thought about while Will was talking. He had mentioned that, if you do need that person to reside in, or you want that other male figure to talk to, find the Dad Show podcast on all social media or go to our website. There's a contact form there, and you can contact, and either, I'll do my best to help you, or, we can, I'm sure between all of us guys, we can find somebody to be that person to help you get through those tough times, or give you that information, or if you just need somebody to talk to, just reach out, and we'll do the best for you that we possibly can. So please go show Will some love on social media. If you want to dive deeper, go to Facebook and connect with him. I want to ask that you will engage with us on all social media at the Dad Show Podcast, and visit our website at thedadshowpodcast.com. I want to thank everybody for being here today. I greatly appreciate it. I love you, and God bless you.
Thank you for listening to the Dad Show Podcast. Please like, review, and subscribe.